If you have ever watched a loved one fade away into the fog of dementia, you know that it isn't just a medical condition, it is a heartbreaking, confusing, and often overwhelming journey for the entire family. We often look at TV personalities like Ruth Langsford and see the polished, professional loose women anchor who always seems to have it together. But recently, Ruth stripped away the TV glamour to share a deeply personal and raw confession about her experience caring for her parents. It's a confession that will resonate with anyone who has ever cared for an aging relative, and it carries a message that could change the way you approach your own loved ones. Ruth, 65, recently opened up about the mistakes she made while caring for her late father, and how those hard-learned lessons have completely transformed the way she now cares for her 94-year-old mother, Joan, who is currently battling Alzheimer's. A tale of two parents. Dementia is a cruel thief. It steals memories, personalities, and independence. Ruth Langsford knows this pain all too well. She lost her father to the disease 13 years ago, and now, she is walking that same rocky path with her mother. However, Ruth admits that her approach today is radically different from a decade ago. Speaking candidly on a recent episode of ITV's Loose Women, Ruth shared that she is a much better carer for her mom today, specifically because of the regrets she carries regarding her dad. I am so much better looking after my mom and being with my mom because of all the mistakes I made with my dad, Ruth admitted. Her honesty here is refreshing. It is so rare to hear someone admit to mistakes in caregiving, yet we all make them. When we are thrown into the deep end of a diagnosis like Alzheimer's, we rarely have a manual. We operate on instinct, and as Ruth points out, our instincts are often wrong. The correction trap. So, what was the mistake? It's one that almost every child of a dementia patient has made. It's the instinct to correct them. Ruth recalled moments with her father where he would be confused about his surroundings or his history. When my dad would say things like, "Oh, I've been here before, haven't I?" I'd go, "No, Dad, you couldn't have been here before," Ruth explained. It sounds logical, doesn't it? We think we are helping. We think that by grounding them in reality, we are pulling them back to us. We use the phrase that Ruth says she used constantly. Dad, remember? Dad, remember when? Remember, remember. But looking back, Ruth realizes that this wasn't helping him. In fact, it was likely causing him stress. I look back and think he didn't remember. He couldn't remember, she said sadly. By trying to force the truth, we inadvertently highlight their failure. We remind them that they are broken. It was a hard lesson for Ruth to learn, but it is one that has reshaped her relationship with her mother. The art of the therapeutic lie. Now, with her mother Joan, Ruth has adopted a gentler, kinder approach. She has stopped fighting the disease and started flowing with it. I don't do any of that correcting with my mom, Ruth told the panel. If she says, "Oh, I've sat here and done this show," I just go, "Yeah, that's nice." And it's done, there's no stress. This brings us to a controversial but essential concept in dementia care, the therapeutic lie. On the surface, lying to a parent feels wrong. It feels disrespectful. We are taught from childhood that the truth is the highest virtue. But when it comes to dementia, the Alzheimer's Society suggests that the truth can sometimes be a weapon. Official advice suggests that white lies are preferable if the alternative causes physical or psychological harm. Consider the alternative. As the Alzheimer's Society points out, insisting on the whole truth can be devastating. Imagine a patient asking for their deceased spouse. If you tell them the truth, "He died 10 years ago," they have to relive that fresh grief all over again. Breaking the news of a death repeatedly isn't honest. As the Society notes, what could be more cruel? Ruth has embraced this. She validates her mother's reality, even if it isn't the reality. By doing so, she preserves her mother's dignity and keeps their time together peaceful. Living in the moment. Ruth's update on her mother Joan was both touching and tear-jerking. Joan currently resides in a care facility near Ruth's Surrey home. The disease has progressed to the point where short-term memory is virtually non-existent. Ruth shared that Joan often cannot remember what she had for breakfast or lunch. Even more heartbreakingly, once Ruth leaves the room, Joan likely won't remember that her daughter visited at all. If you said to her, "Was Ruth here today?" she'd say no, Ruth revealed in a previous interview. For a child, that is a crushing realization. To pour your love and time into a visit, only to have it erased from memory minutes later, takes a massive emotional toll. but Ruth focuses on the joy of the now. In the moment, she still knows it's me, Ruth said. As soon as she sees me, she says, "Oh, what a lovely surprise," like she hasn't seen me for months. That reaction, that spark of recognition and joy, is what matters. Ruth has learned that just because the memory doesn't stick, doesn't mean the moment didn't happen. The feeling of being loved remains, even if the details fade. The fear of inheritance, I don't want to know. Perhaps the most relatable part of Ruth's confession is the shadow that hangs over her own future. When you have not one, but two parents who have suffered from dementia, it is impossible not to look in the mirror and wonder, am I next? Ruth, now 65, admits that this fear is constantly in the back of her mind. She describes the panic that sets in during those senior moments we all have. Every time I forget something, those blank moments where you go, I've totally forgotten that person's name, and I work with them every day, I can feel that panic, she confessed. We've all been there. You walk into a room and forget why. You lose your keys. You struggle for a word. For most, it's just a sign of a busy brain or being tired. But for Ruth, it feels like a potential warning sign. Despite the anxiety, Ruth has made a firm decision. She will not take a predictive test. While medical science can now offer tests to determine susceptibility to Alzheimer's, Ruth refuses to take them. Her reasoning is beautifully human. That might sound a bit childlike, but as there's no cure for it, and I know what it involves, I don't want to know, she said firmly. I just want to live my life. If I get it, I get it. I hope not. It's a powerful sentiment. Why burden today with the worries of a tomorrow you cannot change? Ruth is choosing to live her life fully, rather than living in the shadow of a potential diagnosis. You are not alone. Ruth Langsford's story is just one of millions. According to NHS figures, over 944,000 people in the UK have dementia. That includes 1 in every 11 people over the age of 65. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form, accounting for 60 to 70% of cases. It is a crisis that is silently unfolding in living rooms and care homes across the country. But stories like Ruth's are vital. They remind us that we don't have to be perfect carers. We can make mistakes. We can get frustrated. We can feel lost. The most important takeaway from Ruth's journey is the power of adaptation. She forgave herself for the mistakes with her dad, and she used them to create a gentler world for her mom. Summary: Ruth's advice for carers. If you are currently caring for someone with dementia, take a page out of Ruth Langsford's book. Stop correcting. If they think they are in the past, let them be there. It is a safer, happier place for them. Embrace the therapeutic lie. Prioritize their emotional stability over factual accuracy. Cherish the greeting. They might not remember you left, but they will feel the love when you arrive. Forgive yourself. You are doing the best you can in an impossible situation. Ruth Langsford has shown us that even amidst the heartbreak of dementia, there is room for learning, growth, and profound love. It was a hard lesson, but it is one that is helping her, and now us, understand the true meaning of care. What about you? Have you had to learn the hard lesson of therapeutic lying with a loved one? Do you agree with Ruth's decision not to test for the gene? Let's keep the conversation going.